Bustin' knuckles.
Go bust some knuckles.
Hello, roofing community. My name is Clint Crow.
I'm Dylan Peoples.
And we run the Bustin' Knuckles podcast. Dylan and I have been running StormRoof Systems for a few years now. He's got more years in the industry before that. And today we're sitting down with our top rep and top producer, Mr. Christopher Reece, to talk about how to build ride or die loyal customers that generate reviews and referrals for years to come. Chris, you came up with this topic. You wanted to talk about this. Well, what you got going?
So, just in my short time in the industry, I think we're going on year 3 now, close to year 3. One of the few things that I've seen in my short time in this industry, but I've been in customer service for close to 15 years. So one of the things that I've seen is building a loyal customer base is probably one of the few things that will help you as you progress through your door knocking and you're becoming more customer service oriented, that will actually help take you further with less work. For myself, building that loyal fan base or that loyal customer base for ride or die customers has come along with, for myself, is transparency. Being fully transparent with the customer. Like when I knock on the door and I get the inspection with the homeowner, when I come down and we're signing the contingency agreement, I offer them that sheet of paper as well. Like, hey, take a picture of this, make a copy of this. I don't ever want to have a piece of paper that you don't have as well. And we've all seen those homeowners, like when they get that scope of work back, they're like, oh, well, send me your estimate. When I'm up front at first and I'm like, hey, I don't ever want to have a sheet of paper you don't have, that pops into their head of like, well, I have a sheet of paper now that he doesn't have. And it's like, oh, I need to send that over to Chris. And it's creating that loyal customer of, hey, you're working with me and you're being fully transparent, so I'm going to be fully transparent with you. And that's helped me out a lot in being able to communicate with the customer, but also getting referrals and things like that on down the line. Or even a customer that if they get denied by the insurance company, when they come back with that denial letter, that homeowner's like, oh, no, we're not going to accept this. And it's like, oh, okay, what do you want to do about it? And it's like, well, you're working with Bill and Bob down the street. You got them approved. Why am I not getting approved? Like, they're ready to go to war in order to get this roof approved and get all of these things done on their home.
Transparency is huge, and I also think that open and clear, constant communication is another big one. How many times have you, and I do this myself, owning a home, working with contractors, people show up late, no call, no show.
Constantly
rescheduling, being the type of contractor that you would want to work on your own home, punctuality. If you're going to be late, shoot a text an hour beforehand, 30 minutes beforehand, warn them. In a lot of cases, I might have to take off work or come home early to meet them, sometime between 9 and 5. If they show up late, they're now wasting my time, taking money out of my mouth, out of my home, out of my bank account. So putting yourself in the homeowner's shoes and remembering that customer service aspect, you can't always be on time. You may have to reschedule, but keeping that line of communication open has been huge. How often do you ask for referrals? What point in the process do you communicate that? And do you still manage your own jobs?
So with the referral process, I'm constantly always asking homeowners for referrals. If you appreciate what I'm doing for you, especially with the communication part, like, hey, I knocked on your door. You didn't expect me to knock on your door, but here I am. So I want to help you out as much as I can, and you're helping me out by allowing me and trusting me to take care of this process for you. So as soon as the adjuster comes out, the adjuster gives a thumbs up. They're like, hey, we're going to approve this roof. Immediately I'm like, hey, do you mind if I plant a sign in the yard? I sometimes will plant the sign after I file the claim. And I do that for 2 reasons. One of them is because that now gets that visual representation that we're in the neighborhood. And homeowners start seeing that sign, and my pitch at the door will change after I put that sign into a neighborhood. I no longer
got to get that first one.
Yeah, once I get that first sign in the neighborhood, my pitch will change at the door through the rest of that neighborhood.
And guys, Chris Reece clears out neighborhoods, 20, 30 homes, 40 homes. He'll take that whole thing over.
Well, and that's one thing that, so I was trained coming up, from a teenager and through my 20s in the customer service area. And one thing I was always told is customer service is a dying art. And it truly is. taking care of a customer, so many people get fixated on the money rather than the actual customer service aspect of this. And for myself, yeah, I mean, money's cool and all, but I'm motivated not just by money, but by helping people.
And this is a big one too. I think so many guys early on will come into this industry broke or struggling for money, or they really need that money. So they're looking at a customer as just a potential paycheck. And when you can flip that mindset and say, here's why I showed up on your doorstep to add value. My pockets are full, my cup overfloweth, and my pipeline is not hurting, but you need me and you need me for these reasons. You're communicating that energy back to them saying, hey, it's not about the money. We're going to get the money's going to be right. But this is about me adding value and providing an exceptional amount of service, especially in a commoditized market. Truth is, you can get the same shingles from almost any roofing company in the state, in the country. But can you get the same level of service? Can you get the same attention to detail? Can you find a rep that will care as much or more about the success of your roof installation and protect your leaks and add that warranty and that assurance? The answer is fucking no, never.
Well, that's true. I mean, a roof is a roof. They're not buying the roof; they're getting you. And that's how I swing that to all of my customers is, any roofing company can knock on your door, all right? The differentiation, you said it in the meeting the other day, not all roofers are created equal. I am a roofer. I know how to roof, but I have spent a lot of time making my brain a lot more valuable than my body. And in telling that and communicating that to the homeowner that, hey, the knowledge that I have, not just of this industry, but also of the way that your roof is put together, is going to create a different experience with me. Because I'm not just here to collect money from you and move on to the next customer. I'm here to see this from front to back.
So something that people, a very common problem that sales reps will run into is that when they start knocking doors, they start filing claims. Now they have to show up for adjuster meetings, sometimes once, twice, 3 times, maybe attempted repairs. They start finding that their time and ability to knock is limited by the other things that they have going on. The scalability can get too much to manage. I've heard Deshaun say before, I think he wants 10 to 20 roofs in the pipeline. More than that gets pretty hard to manage. And that could apply for any number of jobs. But what are some ways that you've maximized your time? I know you've hired canvassers. What are some ways that you've maximized your time to fit a schedule that allows you to be a multiple 6-figure earner, a top sales rep in the industry? I think you did, $250,000 last month in roofs? The last month?
In the last 30 days, I've done a little over $250,000.
Yeah. So what are some ways that you have been able to excel in that while still getting 5-star reviews, while still paying attention to the homeowner, leading them through the process? Because as I understand it, you're there from the time that the claim is filed to even writing the back end estimate and picking up the back check.
Yeah, so time management was like the hardest thing that I had to learn. Writing things down, Dylan came up with that, it was like a little spreadsheet thing that you have. So I kind of took that from you and started managing what homeowners I have in prospect, what homeowners I have in active and filed leads, completed, invoiced, and it does get confusing. Once you get to a certain level of how many roofs are in the pipeline, you have to keep track of that because your money's just sitting out there at that point. And especially if you're flip-flopping back and forth between 2 cities like I'm doing between here and Austin, it kind of does get muddled up. But one of the biggest things that I've had to do with the time management is wake up earlier. So I'm a knock between 10 a.m. kind of guy and until I'm done. And I love that certain people they'll go between 4 and 8. If I'm up, I'm working. I got to be doing
find
something.
A routine that works for you.
Yeah, and so for my routine that works for me, I'm hitting the doors at 10 a.m. and I'm going until at least 2 or 3. That gives me from 3, maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon until 8 o'clock to do computer work. Before 10 a.m., I'm going to the gym. I'm making myself breakfast, and I'm planning out my day. Like, what do I have going on? I've got an adjuster meeting at this time, which puts me in this area, which means that I have between 11 and 12:30 to knock. And after 12:30, I've got another adjuster meeting or I've got to go sign a contract. A a lot of it's putting stuff into my Google Calendar, but also writing things down and trying to manage my time as efficiently as I can.
No, that's great. So you're knocking around your adjuster meetings, you're knocking around your installs, you're always putting signs out, you're letting people know exactly who's working in this neighborhood.
100%.
Yeah.
Every single time.
No, I love it, man. Dylan, you got...
Yeah, I would say, obviously managing your time, executing what you say you're going to do, all of those things are obvious, and for sure to get referrals you need to deliver. But asking is the number one thing. I think most people aren't asking. Most people are literally just, it's a simple question. Hey, do you know anybody? Any of your neighbors in this area? A lot of people are scared, don't know how to initiate that. There's a few different, I'd say, key points which are perfect to ask for referrals. Every single time I'm done at any appointment, especially if I file the claim, I leave them with, hey, look, as I'm walking out the door, oh yeah, one thing I want to leave you with, we give $250 per referral. Most companies do something very similar like that, but I'll leave that with them every single time. So that's one reason, or one time that's like time to pitch it. Another time is if they mention they're in the HOA president, anything like that, boom, pitching referrals right there. Another time where I'm like, hey, this is the perfect, there is no better chance, I feel like, than this one is you're talking to your homeowner outside, their neighbors walking their dogs with, their husband, whatever. They're talking, maybe even saying a few, a little conversation or whatever. That is the perfect time. Maybe not right then and there when they're talking. Let them do their thing. But that moment you have your homeowner one-on-one again, maybe saying, hey, look, who was that? Do they live in this area also? That is your referral right there. You just saw the referral.
Can you introduce me to that
Exactly.
neighbor? Do you know who lives right there? Would you be willing to
Bingo.
walk me over? I'll knock the door. Just tell them what we're doing real quick. If you know them, if you're friends with them, that'd be a huge help to me. Referrals,
Well, scared money don't make money.
Scared money
Right.
don't make money, and referrals are the lifeblood of our business. Dylan told me this in the very beginning. We've all heard it. The better you are at knocking doors, the less you'll have to actually knock doors. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not knocking doors. This is the industry we're in. It's tried and true. We'll generate leads. We'll knock doors. But eventually, I think even top reps will find you get a lot of jobs in your pipeline process, and you have to tend to those jobs. The pipeline starts to drain out a little bit, or you can see that, hey, it's going to pretty soon, and staying proactive, going back, getting in that knocking routine, finding, hey, I do have a few more hours in the day to devote to this is huge. One thing I want to clarify before we wrap up is, what do you consider a ride or die customer? What are the attributes of your ideal customer?
So I'll tell a story about one of the homeowners that I had who he had Allstate, and we've all heard the stories, but I'm not knocking anybody. It was his policy is really what it was, and the policy didn't cover pretty much anything. I mean, in all honesty, when he found out what type of policy he had, he would have owed money to Allstate had his house burned down.
Yeah,
and he. In me showing the damage that he had and just the way that whole process was handled, he literally stood behind me and almost yelled at the adjuster like, this is nonsense. You're my insurance company. I've hired this man to show you what damages I have on my house, and you're completely ignoring everything that he is showing. And at that point, I knew, I was like, all right, I pretty much have a soldier behind me that's ready and willing to go to war against the insurance company to get this roof. Well, long story short, he didn't get it paid for by insurance. He financed a $15,000 roof out of pocket just to spite Allstate, and then switched his insurance company.
that's right.
And then also turned around and gave me 3 other homeowners that all contracted in the same neighborhood.
I think it's important to remember, too, that insurance does not work for us, the contracting company, and we don't work for the insurance. Insurance and the contractor both work for the homeowner. So having a homeowner that wants to be somewhat involved in the process, you copy them on the emails, you have them a 3-way on the phone when you're filing the claim, making sure that they have a line of communication open with the adjuster as well,
100%.
especially if the adjuster is copping an attitude on you. Their tone will change. The adjuster's tone will change real quick.
100%.
The difference between you talking to an adjuster and the homeowner talking to the adjuster, or both of you talking to the adjuster, can be pretty stark.
Well, and I think that's what most people, when they get into this industry, they need to understand that you're working for the homeowner. You're not working for the insurance company. In fact, in the contract with the homeowner and the insurance company, the burden of loss falls on the homeowner. So the homeowner is hiring you to not necessarily represent them, but to prove the facts of the loss.
And we got to be careful with our language here. We do not represent the homeowner. We do help manage their interests.
Okay.
And we're not public adjusters. We're contractors. But as we're representing or managing their interests, you got to remember, insurance is not in the business of losing money.
No.
In a lot of ways, we are the bad guy for them because we're helping maximize the claim, find damages that may have been overlooked. We're talking mailbox, we're talking garage doors, we're talking the grill outside, any soft metals, gutters, anything we can find. Is there valley metal? Can we get these supplements? Is there drip edge? We're maximizing that claim, and the adjuster is not motivated. In fact, they're financially demotivated. They are not financially incentivized to find these things. So sniffing out the little details and maximizing that claim kind of hurts the insurance company.
100%. It's bringing the facts is really what it is.
It is, and recognizing that, stating that, and then providing the argument, hey, why not? I noticed that this is included on the house and their policy falls in line. Why was this left off? And most of the time, if it's within the policy, they're quick to make that adjustment.
That's one of those things we have to tiptoe that line too, asking about the policy though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 100%. We are not public adjusters.
We are not public adjusters. We have to tiptoe that line of asking about policy.
And we can't
look at
interpret policy.
I won't look at a policy because of that, for the most part. I mean, I'll look at a declaration page, but
Make sure
I'm
it's not an
talking
ACV.
about.
I'll look at a deck page, but I'm not
talking about
to.
the policy. It's irrelevant.
That's a quick
As long
way
as
to
it's
get
an
in trouble
RCV,
quickly.
Yep.
As long as it's RCV, that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
Well, guys, how to build ride or die customers, managing your pipeline. One big takeaway from this was we use CRMs, we use Acculinks, we use Spodio, we use iDamage,
Storm
Intelligence, a bunch of different apps. But there is no substitute for establishing a routine and writing things down. I view all of those as necessary tools, and I also view the notebook and the list as something that you live and die by the list, by the routine, by the notebook. That's one of the biggest secrets to success is consistency and persistence breeds predictable results. You can keep that pipeline full, and if it starts to get low, you can fill it back up again. But managing your claims, managing what step of the process that your customers are in, and being proactive versus reactive on that action will help set you apart in a truly commoditized, oversaturated market.
Planning your work and working your plan will put you above 90% of them.
That's the big one. Guys, my name's Clint.
I'm Dylan.
And we were just sitting down with Mr. Chris Reece. Chris, you want to close it out?
Man.
It's the Bustin' Knuckles podcast,
Bustin'
baby.
Knuckles.
Bustin' Knuckles. Go bust some knuckles.